The silence in the penthouse was not peaceful. It was controlled, measured, like the pause between a trigger pull and the sound of impact. Floor-to-ceiling glass framed the glittering skyline of Seoul, the Han River a silver scar cutting through the city below. The lights flickered in disciplined rows, as if even the buildings knew who ruled them. Min Jae Park sat shirtless on the edge of a low leather sofa, his posture straight despite the pain that radiated from his left shoulder. The antiseptic stung sharply as it grazed fresh torn skin. He did not flinch, but his jaw tightened, a microscopic betrayal. "Stop pretending it doesn't hurt," Amara Okafor said calmly. Her voice was low and steady. Not soft, not sharp, controlled. She worked with the efficiency of someone who had stitched gunshot wounds under fluorescent hospital lights at 3 a.m. Dark green scrubs, hair pulled back, no jewelry, no fear. 6 months ago, she had been hired as a private trauma nurse for the head of the park syndicate. Officially, the corporation was an international shipping and technology empire. Unofficially, it controlled ports, routes, and people. Amara pressed fresh gauze against the wound and began securing the bandage with deliberate care. "You tore the stitches," she said. "Again." It was unavoidable. It's always unavoidable. Minji's lips almost curved. Almost. He studied her the way he studied adversaries, carefully, methodically. Except the look in his eyes when he watched her wasn't strategic. It was something far more dangerous. "Need. The gala. The Foundation gala is Friday," he said. Amara peeled off her gloves. The snap of latex echoed in the quiet room. "You shouldn't attend." "I don't have that luxury." The Park Foundation gala was the annual performance. The night where blood money turned into scholarships, where industrial pollution became charitable donations, where predators wore tuxedos. Amara zipped her medical bag. "Then go," she replied. "But you are not lifting anything heavier than a champagne flute." She turned toward the elevator. Amara, the way he said her name, stopped her. Not a command, a request. She turned slowly. He stood now, slipping into a tailored charcoal dress shirt, movements controlled despite the injury. Even wounded, he looked composed, dangerous, like a king whose armor was custom cut. "The list my advisor prepared," he said quietly, "is predictable." She understood immediately. The date list: heiresses, daughters of political allies. Women raise a smile and say nothing. "I need someone who can read a room," he continued. "Someone who doesn't fear it." Her grip tightened on her bag. "You're asking me to attend as your date." "Yes." Silence filled the space between them. She was a nurse in scrubs. He was a man who controlled ports from Busan to Singapore. "I don't belong in that world," she said. "You handle sharks every time you stitch me up," he replied. "You just don't call them that." She stared at him. He stepped closer, but not too close. "I am not asking for decoration," he said. "I'm asking for an ally." The warning. The next morning, the penthouse was no longer quiet. Juno arrived, second in command, childhood friend, strategist, smiling, but his eyes were cold. He noticed Amara immediately. "Nurse Okafor," he said lightly. "I hear an interesting rumor." She didn't look up from her clipboard. The boss intends to bring medical staff to the gala. His associates chuckled. Juno stepped closer. "Optics matter," he said. Min-jae walking in with the help send the wrong message. The help. Amara's spine straightened. "Mr. Park's social calendar is not my concern," she replied evenly. "My concern is ensuring he survives the stress you create." Juno smirked. "Some people are built for palaces," he said. "Some are built to clean them." The laughter was low. "Cutting. Then, Juno." Minji's voice. He stood in the doorway, expression unreadable. He walked forward and positioned himself subtly between them. "Amara is essential," he said calmly. "You will treat her accordingly." Juno raised his hands in mock surrender. "Of course. I am only thinking of the board." He looked at Amara one last time. "Know your place." And then he left. Decision. Later that afternoon, in the quiet kitchen, Dahayan, Minji's driver, polished an apple while watching Amara think. "They think I'm a prop," she said quietly. Dahayan shrugged. They're afraid. Of what? You. She looked up sharply. The boss trusts you, he continued. That terrifies them. Silence. She thought of her mother working 3 jobs in Lagos, of the scholarship that brought her to Seoul, of nights studying anatomy while the world slept. She stood and walked straight to Minji's office. I will go, she said. He looked up immediately. But I have conditions. He didn't interrupt. I am not your employee that night. I choose my dress. I speak my mind. If anyone disrespects me, I leave. A pause. And if I leave, she added softly, I don't come back. Min Jae stood. He nodded. Agreed. You do not buy my dignity. No, he said, but you may use my corporate card for the dress. A small smile. If I'm going to war, she said, I need armor. The dress. The boutique was silent luxury. Cream. Pastels. Safe choices. Amara rejected them all. No, she said. These are for hiding. Then she saw it. Red. Not soft red. Deep arterial red. Structured. Elegant. Powerful. It did not whisper. It announced. That one. Arrival. The opera house glittered. Crystal chandeliers. Red carpet. Flash bulbs. Juno waited at the top of the stairs with his actress companion. She's late, he murmured. Then the black sedan pulled up. The door opened. A leg stepped out. Then she rose. Red against night. Gold against skin. Chin lifted. The crowd recalibrated. She did not look at cameras. She looked at Min Jae and walked toward him. Juno's smirk died. Minji's breath caught. She ascended the stairs like she owned them. When she reached him, he offered his arm. Not possession. Respect. You're late, he murmured. I had to put on my armor. Chairman Lee. Inside, the shark circled. Chairman Lee approached. Which family? He asked Amara smoothly. The Kims? The Chas. Trap. She smiled. I am from the Okafor family of Lagos, she replied clearly. You may not know us from boardrooms, but you would recognize our work. Silence. I manage trauma recovery for patients injured in factories like yours. The air shifted. She continued. I hear tonight's auction funds pulmonary care. A thoughtful gesture, given your chemical emissions. A few younger executives hid smiles. Chairman Lee retreated. Min Jae leaned closer. Remind me never to debate you. I told you, she said softly. I'm not a prop. The dance. The waltz began. Dance with me, he said. She hesitated. Your shoulder. Later, he murmured. Right now, I need to hold you. They stepped onto the floor. Whispers followed, but the world narrowed to 3 feet. He pulled her slightly closer than protocol allowed. Everyone is staring, she whispered. Let them, he replied. They are starving. They see something they can't buy. She looked at him. And what do you see? His voice lowered. The only thing in this room that matters. The ant. In the ladies' lounge, Minji's ant appeared. Diamonds. Control. Predatory elegance. Red suggests ambition, she said coolly. Then, distractions are temporary. She mentioned mergers, arranged marriages, bloodlines. Enjoy midnight, she said softly, but do not mistake it for permanence. And left. Amara stood alone. The red dress suddenly felt heavy. The confrontation. Outside, near the valet stand, Min Jae found her. I want to go home, she said. In my world, he began. Your world destroys things, she interrupted. Then help me build a new one, he said desperately. In the parked car, tension exploded. You will marry for strategy, she accused. I will burn strategy to the ground, he shot back. He took her hand and pressed it to his chest. I want you, not possession. Choice. Her defenses trembled. You are dangerous, she whispered. Stay anyway. Foreheads touching, breath mingling, the decision suspended in air. 3 months later, a new headline would shake Seoul, but not for violence, for change. It would bear 2 names. Park, Okafor. 3 days after the gala, the calls began, not to Min Jae, to the board, to investors. to political allies who preferred their crime invisible and their charity obedient. The headlines weren't hostile. They were worse. Curious. Who was the woman in red? Mystery companion steals spotlight at Park Foundation Gala. Philanthropy or rebranding? No accusations, just questions. And in Min Jae Park's world, questions were ammunition. The boardroom, the Park Holdings executive boardroom, occupied the top floor of a glass tower overlooking the Han River. It was a room built for intimidation. Long obsidian table, high-back leather chairs. No artwork, no warmth. Juno stood near the window as the directors filed in. He did not sit. He waited. Min Jae entered last. Tailored navy suit, expression neutral. Left shoulder healing beneath the fabric. No visible weakness. Chairman Kwon, the oldest board member, cleared his throat. We need to discuss optics. Min Jae folded his hands. Discuss. The woman, Kwon continued. Your companion. My partner, Min Jae corrected calmly. The correction did not go unnoticed. A faint tightening around Juno's eyes. She is a nurse, another director said carefully. Not from any affiliated family. No strategic value. Min Jae leaned back. And yet, he said evenly, she handled chairmanly better than anyone in this room has managed in 20 years. Silence. Juno finally spoke. This is not about her intelligence. It is about leverage. Min Jae's gaze shifted. Explain. If rivals believe you are emotionally compromised, Juno said, voice smooth, they will exploit it. The room hummed in agreement. Min Jae stood. The subtle movement silenced him instantly. Let me clarify something, he said quietly. The quiet was worse than shouting. She is not a weakness. A pause. She is the first decision I have made in 10 years that was not dictated by fear. The words were not for the board. They were for himself. Pressure applied. That afternoon, Amara felt a shift, not in headlines, in atmosphere. The hospital administrator called her into his office. Amara, he began gently, we've received inquiries. Regarding your association with Mr. Park. Her spine straightened. My personal life does not affect my medical performance. No, he agreed quickly. But donors are sensitive. The board is concerned about perception. Perception. The word tasted bitter. Are you asking me to resign? He hesitated. I am asking you to consider reducing visibility. She understood perfectly. Stay in your place. Again, she walked out without another word. Min Jae's line crossed. That evening, Amara arrived at the penthouse. Min Jae immediately sensed something was wrong. You're angry? They contacted my hospital. His jaw tightened. Who? Does it matter? It did. Very much. He stepped away, pulling out his phone. Don't, she warned. He froze. If you retaliate, she said firmly, you prove them right. Silence. She stepped closer. I knew your world would test me, she continued. But I will not survive it if you fight every battle with fire. His eyes burned. That is how I have survived. Yes, she replied softly. But survival is not the same as living. The words landed. Deep. Juno escalates. Juno did not operate with emotion. He operated with pressure points. If he could not remove Amar directly, he would destabilize her. A small investigative journalist received an anonymous tip. Photos surfaced online. Not scandalous, but invasive. Pictures of Amara entering the penthouse. Old university scholarship records. Her mother's address in Lagos. Min Jae saw the article at 3:12 a.m. The glass in his hand shattered against the marble floor. By 3:20, Dahayan had security teams tracing the source. By 3:45, Min Jae knew. Juno hadn't ordered it directly, but he hadn't stopped it either. Which was worse. The confrontation. Min Jae entered Juno's private office without knocking. Juno didn't look surprised. You cross a line. I created pressure, Juno replied calmly. There's a difference. You expose her family. Juno's gaze sharpened. If she cannot withstand scrutiny, she cannot stand beside you. Min Jae moved faster than Juno expected. In one motion, he slammed him against the wall. The board members in the outer office froze. I built this empire. Min Jae said quietly, dangerously. Not you. Juno did not struggle. You built it because I kept emotion out of your decisions. A beat, and she is emotion. Min Jae released him. But the fracture had formed. The threat becomes real. 2 nights later, Amara noticed a car following her. Not aggressively, just consistently. She didn't panic. She documented. Plates, time, route. When she arrived at the penthouse, Dahan was already waiting. We saw it too, he said grimly. Min Jae stepped forward. His control was slipping. This ends now. But this time, it wasn't corporate pressure. It was something else. Rivals. Someone testing his reaction. Because love in his world was leverage. The choice. Later that night, they stood on the balcony overlooking Seoul. Wind cutting through the air. City glowing beneath them. I can leave, Amara said quietly. Minji's head snapped toward her. If I walk away, they lose leverage. His voice was dangerously calm. You think I would allow that? I think you would sacrifice anything to protect what you love. Silence. And I refuse to be something you sacrifice. He stepped closer. You are not the sacrifice, he said. You are the reason I fight differently now. She searched his face. Not the king. Not the syndicate leader. The man. You cannot protect me from everything, she whispered. No, he admitted, but I can stand beside you. For the first time in his life, he did not promise control. He promised partnership. The breaking point. The next board meeting exploded. Min Jae announced the launch of a new initiative, the Park Okafor Public Health Expansion Fund. Massive capital reallocation, industrial safety audits, environmental compliance enforcement. Chairman Kwon was furious. This is financial suicide. It is restructuring. Min Jae replied calmly. Juno watched him carefully. You are redirecting power. Juno said quietly, yes, to her world. Yes. A long silence. Juno finally spoke. If you continue down this path, you will lose allies. Min Jae met his gaze. Then they were never allies. The attack. It happened the following week. Not a gun, not a bomb, a financial strike. 3 major investors withdrew simultaneously. Stock value dipped. Media narrative shifted. Instability at Park Holdings. Juno walked into Minji's office. They are testing you. Min Jae didn't look up. Good. Juno's voice lowered. If you fall, she falls with you. That landed. Juno watched carefully. There, a flicker. Fear. Not for himself. For her. Juno realized something then. Amara wasn't just emotion. She was transformation. And transformation threatened the old order. The final scene of Part 2. That night, Min Jae arrived at Amara's apartment. Instead of summoning her, he knocked. No security entourage. No armored car. Just him. When she opened the door, she saw it immediately. The war had begun. They're coming for you through me, he said. She nodded. I know. He stepped inside. No more secrets, he said. No more shielding. If we do this, we do it fully. Her heart pounded. This will not be easy. I don't want easy. Silence. Then, stay, he said again. But this time it wasn't desperate. It was steady. She stepped aside and let him in. The wolves are no longer whispering. They are circling. Power does not disappear quietly. It resists. It claws. It bleeds before it dies. And in Seoul's undercurrent, beneath the polished glass towers and philanthropic galas, a shift had been detected. Min Jae Park was changing. And when a king changes, kingdoms tremble. The first cut. The attack came on a Tuesday. Not dramatic. Not loud. Precise. Amara had just finished a late shift at the clinic. The pediatric wing was short-staffed again, funding delays from industrial donors who suddenly felt uncertain. She stepped into the underground parking lot, keys between her fingers. The air felt wrong. Still, too still. A black van idled 3 rows down. She noticed it immediately. Didn't react. Didn't speed up. She adjusted her route casually, angling toward the security-lit side of the lot. The van engine shut off. Doors opened. Two men stepped out. Not rushed, not shouting. Professionals. Her pulse quickened, but her expression did not change. She pivoted sharply, walking back toward the hospital entrance. One of the men spoke into an earpiece. They adjusted. They were not there to hurt her. They were there to take her. And that was worse. Before they could close the distance, headlights flooded the garage. A black sedan screeched between her and the men. Dahian, driver's door already open. Get in. No hesitation. Amara moved. The sedan launched forward just as the van reversed aggressively. Tires screamed. Metal nearly kissed metal. But Dahian was better. They cleared the ramp and vanished into traffic. Inside the car, Amara's breathing remained steady. Was that random? She asked. Dahian didn't answer, because they both knew. It wasn't. The message. Min Jae received the security footage before Amara even reached the penthouse. He watched it once, then again, then a third time. His expression did not change, but the room temperature dropped 10 degrees. Juno entered without knocking. You saw. Yes. Juno folded his hands behind his back. This was not board pressure. No. Outside. Min Jae nodded slowly. The Han family? Juno asked. Too obvious. There was only one group bold enough to attempt something this clean. The Cheon Syndicate. Old rivals. Quiet for years. Waiting. Juno studied Min Jae carefully. You are vulnerable now. Min Jae finally looked at him. Explain. You have something to lose. Silence. Juno continued. They are testing reaction time. And what would you suggest? Juno's answer was immediate. Remove the leverage. A beat. Send her away. The argument. Amara stood in the center of the penthouse living room, fury radiating off her. You will not exile me. Minji's jaw was rigid. It is temporary. It is cowardice. Juno watched silently from near the window. Amara turned on him. You agree with this? Yes, Juno said calmly. Emotion is liability. And fear is leadership, she snapped. Min Jae stepped forward. This is not about pride. It is about control, she fired back. You think you can lock me somewhere safe while you burn the city down. He didn't deny it. That was the problem. She stepped closer. If you send me away, she said quietly, you prove them right. About what? That I am weakness. The word hit harder than a bullet. Juno's eyes narrowed slightly. He was observing something shift. Minji's breathing slowed. Then, you stay, Min Jae said. Juno stiffened. This is strategically unsound. Min Jae didn't look at him. I am done living strategically. Juno realized something dangerous then. The king had changed, and kings who change either evolve or fall. Retaliation. Min Jae did not respond with noise. He responded with pressure. Port inspections increased. Cheon-linked shipments delayed. Financial audits triggered. No direct accusation. Just tightening. 3 days later, a Cheon-owned warehouse mysteriously failed a compliance review. Juno approached Min Jae privately. You are escalating. They started. Juno's gaze was sharp. You are distracted. Minji's voice dropped. Say that again. Juno held eye contact. You are not thinking like you used to. And how did I used to think? Efficiently. Cold. Detached. Untouchable. Min Jae stepped closer. I used to think fear was loyalty. Juno didn't respond. And I was wrong. The kidnapping attempt. Part 2. This time it wasn't subtle. A convoy intercepted Amara's car in broad daylight, blocked at an intersection. Traffic boxed in. Precision. Dahian reacted instantly, but this wasn't a quiet extraction. This was public. One of the attackers approached her door, gun visible, and then motorcycles flooded the street. Park Syndicate riders. Weapons drawn. Chaos erupted. The attackers retreated within seconds. The message was clear. The war was now visible, and visibility was dangerous. The breaking conversation. That night, Min Jae stood alone in his study. Lights off. City below. Amara entered quietly. You cannot keep escalating. she said softly as he didn't turn. They tried to take you. Yes. And you are calm. No, she replied. I am choosing not to panic. He turned then, finally showing it. The fear, not for himself. For her. I cannot lose you. Her expression softened. You do not own that outcome. Silence. Then she stepped closer. If this continues, innocent people get hurt. He knew she was right, and he hated it, because restraint felt like surrender. Juno's private meeting. Juno met secretly with a Chion representative that week. Not betrayal. Negotiation. The Chion envoy smiled thinly. Your boss has grown sentimental. Juno did not react. You cannot win against emotion, the envoy continued. It makes him predictable. Juno's reply was cool. You assume I want him to lose. The envoy leaned forward. Do you? Juno didn't answer, because for the first time in years, he didn't know. The attack that changed everything. It wasn't Amara. It wasn't Minjae. It was the clinic. A fire, set deliberately. Small, contained quickly, but intentional. A warning. Amara stood outside, watching smoke curl into sky. Children had been inside. No casualties, but barely. Minjae arrived within minutes. When he saw the building, something inside him fractured. Not rage. Something deeper. Resolve. He turned to Juno. This ends. Juno nodded once, then ended completely. No half measures. No warnings. No strategic dance. War. The turning point. Minjae didn't go after Chion shipments. He went after leadership. Financial skeletons exposed. Political alliances destabilized. Silent partners revealed. Within 72 hours, the Chion syndicate faced investigations from 3 separate government agencies. Not violence. Destruction. Calculated. Irreversible. Juno watched the execution of the strategy carefully. Cold. Efficient. Brilliant. The old Minjae was still there. He had just chosen where to point his power. The conversation that shifted everything. Late that night, Juno stood alone with Minjae on the penthouse balcony. You were willing to burn everything for her. Juno said quietly, Yes. Juno studied him. You would have destroyed the board, the ports, our alliances. Yes. Juno exhaled slowly. You have changed. Minjae didn't deny it. Juno's voice lowered. She did not weaken you. No. She focused you. Minjae glanced at him. Juno gave a slight nod. The first true acknowledgement, not of Amara, of Minji's evolution. The Chion syndicate collapsed publicly 2 weeks later. Officially, regulatory failure. Unofficially, eradication. But power vacuums create new threats. And the board had been watching carefully. Because Minjae had proven something dangerous. He would choose love over legacy. And that made him unpredictable. When external enemies fail, internal ones grow bold. The Chion syndicate collapsed quietly. Too quietly. No explosions. No arrest broadcast live. No dramatic revenge. Just audits. Asset freezes. Political distancing. Clean. Efficient. Terrifying. And the Park Holdings Board noticed something they had not seen in years. Minjae Park had acted without consulting them. Not asking. Not negotiating. Acting. That was new. That was dangerous. The private vote. The board gathered without him. Juno was present. Chairman Kwan spoke first. He is destabilizing our structure. A director added. He redirected funds without approval. Another. He is consolidating influence through public health initiatives. Translation. He is shifting power away from us. Juno listened quietly. Then Kwan leaned forward. The woman is the catalyst. Silence. Remove her, someone said flatly. Juno's eyes lifted slowly. Define remove. Discredit her. Pressure her professionally. Force distance. Juno considered the room. You think that will weaken him? Yes. Juno almost smiled. You misunderstand him. Kwan's voice hardened. Then enlighten us. Juno spoke calmly. If you attack her directly, he will burn this company down and rebuild it without you. The room fell still, because they knew it was true. Kwan's eyes narrowed. Then we force him to choose. The ultimatum. Min Jae received a request for an emergency session. He already knew. The air felt different. The room colder. Chairman Kwan didn't waste time. You have jeopardized our stability. No, Min Jae replied evenly. I removed a threat. You redirected capital without vote. I redirected rot. Murmurs. Then Kwan dropped it. The Okafor initiative is to be separated from Park Holdings. Minji's expression did not change. Continue. You will publicly distance yourself from her. Silence. And if I refuse? Chairman Kwan met his gaze directly. We initiate a leadership review. A corporate coup. Legal. Strategic. Devastating. Min Jae leaned back slowly. You want me to choose? Yes. The crown, Kwan said softly, or the woman. The room held its breath. Juno did not move. Min Jae stood. For several seconds, he said nothing. Then, you mistake something fundamental. He adjusted his cuff. The crown only exists because I allow it to. He looked around the table. If you challenge my leadership, you will not survive the process. It wasn't a threat. It was math. He turned to leave. Chairman Kwan called after him. If you walk this path, you walk alone. Min Jae paused. Without turning, I have never walked with you. And left, the crack between brothers. Juno followed him to the private elevator. You just triggered a civil war. Min Jae didn't look at him. They forced it. Juno's voice lowered. You cannot win against the board and the political family simultaneously. Min Jae finally turned. Are you with me? The question hung heavy. Juno studied him carefully. Years of loyalty, strategy, blood, and now this new variable. Amara, Juno answered honestly. I am with the structure. A beat. Right now, you're destabilizing it. Min Jae nodded slowly. Then choose quickly. The elevator doors closed between them. For the first time since childhood, they stood on opposite sides. Amara's refusal. When Min Jae told her, Amara was silent for a long time. They want you to leave me publicly, she said. Yes. And if you don't, they attempt removal. She walked a window. City lights blinking below. You cannot dismantle an empire for me. I can. That is not the same as should. He stepped closer. They underestimate you. She turned sharply. This is not about ego. It is about respect. She shook her head. If you choose me and lose everything, you will resent me. I will not. You don't know that. He did not answer. Because she was right. Loss changes people. Even kings. She moved closer. Do not burn your kingdom for love, she whispered. He took her hands. It is not for love. She searched his face. It is for freedom. The public strike. 2 days later, an anonymous financial report leaked. Park Holdings stock dipped sharply. Media narrative shifted. Leadership instability at Park Holdings. Internal dispute threatens expansion plans. The board had made their move. Investors began requesting emergency calls. Juno watched the numbers fall. This was controlled pressure. They expected Min Jae to fold within 72 hours. Instead, Min Jae called a press conference. Unscheduled, unapproved, the declaration. Cameras flashed. Reporters crowded. Min Jae stepped to the podium alone. No board members beside him. No controlled statement drafted by PR. He spoke calmly. Park Holdings will undergo structural reform. Shock rippled instantly. We will separate our philanthropic and industrial branches. Gasps. We will increase transparency across environmental operations. The board was watching live, furious. Then came the line that changed everything. The Park Okafor Medical Initiative will operate independently under joint leadership. Joint, public, irreversible. A reporter shouted, Is Ms. Okafor your romantic partner? Min Jae didn't hesitate. Yes. The room erupted. He continued, I will not hide the people I stand beside. Back in the boardroom, Chairman Kwan went pale. He had expected quiet compliance, not open defiance. Juno watched the broadcast. Something shifted in his chest. Not anger, not betrayal, recognition. Min Jae had just done something none of them had dared. He chose transparency. The coup attempt. That night, emergency legal filings were submitted. A motion to suspend Min Jae, pending review. Juno was given authority to act as interim executive. He stared at the document, pen in hand. All he had to do was sign. And the empire would be his to stabilize. He thought of childhood, of standing behind Min Jae in schoolyard fights, of building power brick by brick, of watching Min Jae slowly suffocate inside it. Then he thought of the gala, the woman in red, the way Min Jae had looked alive. Juno set the pen down and tore the document in half. The confrontation. Juno walked into the boardroom unannounced. "You miscalculated," he said calmly. Chairman Kwon stood. "Have you signed?" "No. You were given authority." Juno's gaze hardened. "You confuse authority with loyalty." Silence. "He is not destabilizing the company," Juno continued. "He is evolving it." Kwon's voice dropped. "You will betray structure for sentiment?" Juno's reply was quiet. "I would protect the man who built it." The room understood then. The coup had failed. The night of reckoning. Juno arrived at the penthouse just after midnight. Min Jae was waiting. Neither spoke for a long moment. Then Juno said, "They moved today." "I know." "They will try again." "I know." Juno stepped closer. "You asked if I was with you." "A beat." "I am." Min Jae studied him. "You are choosing risk." Juno's expression remained unreadable. "No." He glanced toward the balcony where Amara stood looking out over the city. "I am choosing the future." The quiet moment. Later that night, Min Jae joined Amara outside. "They attempted removal," he said, "and they failed." She exhaled slowly. "You didn't have to fight alone." "I know." He stepped beside her. "You were right." She looked up. "About what?" "If I lost everything, I might have changed." She studied him carefully. "But I did not lose." He took her hand. "And I did not choose you instead of the crown." Her brow furrowed slightly. "I chose a different crown." Below them, the city moved. Unaware, unapologetic, alive. The board had been checked. Juno had chosen sides. The empire had shifted. But public defiance has consequences. Old political families would not forget. And someone far more powerful than Chairman Kwon had been watching, waiting. Power never forgives humiliation. The board's failed coup did not disappear. It retreated, and when power retreats, it looks for a larger weapon. That weapon arrived in the form of a name rarely spoken aloud. Chairman Han. Old money, old blood, political reach that extended beyond Seoul and into ministries, regulatory bodies, and silent investors who preferred shadows. The proposed merger between Park Holdings and Han Shipping had not been canceled. It had been postponed. And Chairman Han did not appreciate being postponed. The summons, the invitation was not optional. Private dinner. No press. No witnesses. Min Jae attended alone. The Han estate sat beyond the city's glow, sprawling, traditional architecture, layered with modern security. Chairman Han was already seated when Min Jae entered. Silver hair, measured expression, eyes like polished stone. "You've grown bold," Han said without greeting. "I've grown selective," Min Jae replied. Tea was poured. No one drank. "You were meant to marry my niece," Han continued calmly. "Instead, you humiliated the board and publicly attached yourself to a nurse." The word nurse carried weight. Min Jae didn't react. "I attached myself to someone I respect." Han's gaze sharpened. "You mistake respect for power." "No," Min Jae replied quietly. "I redefined it." Silence stretched. Han leaned forward. "You have destabilized alliances. Investors fear unpredictability. They fear transparency," Min Jae corrected. Han's lips curved slightly. "You are playing reformer inside a machine built on control." Min Jae met his gaze steadily. "Then perhaps the machine deserves to change." The temperature dropped. Han's voice lowered. "If you refuse alignment, you'll find the city less cooperative." It was not a threat. It was a forecast. Min Jae stood. I do not seek war. Han's reply was soft. War does not require seeking. The political strike. Within a week, government inspections intensified across park operations. Licenses delayed. Environmental audits reopened. Banking compliance questioned. Clean attacks. No violence. Suffocation. Juno paced the operations room. This is Han, he said. Yes. They are isolating us. Min Jae studied the reports. Not isolating, he said quietly, testing endurance. The stock dipped again. Media narratives sharpened. Is reform crippling Park Holdings? Leadership under fire. Amara watched it unfold from the clinic's break room television. Nurses whispered, some with admiration, some with doubt. She turned the screen off. Then she went back to work. That night, Amara stood in the penthouse kitchen, sleeves rolled up, cooking, not because they lacked staff, but because grounding mattered. Min Jae entered silently. They are escalating. I know. You can still step back publicly, he said carefully. She turned slowly. Do you want me to? The question cut deeper than any accusation. He stepped closer. No. She studied him, then stopped offering me exits. Silence. You knew this would not be peaceful, she continued. Yes. And you chose it anyway. Yes. She walked toward him. So did I. He exhaled slowly. You are not responsible for my war. I am responsible for my choice, she corrected. A pause. Do not protect me from consequence, she said softly. Stand with me in it. That was the moment he fully understood. She was not in his world. They were building one together. The final pressure. Chairman Han made one last move. A private investor coalition threatened to withdraw billions unless Min Jae publicly confirmed a strategic engagement to the Han family. Not marriage, just engagement. Symbolism. Control disguised as partnership. Juno brought the proposal to Min Jae. If you agree, Juno said carefully, you regain stability. And lose myself, Min Jae replied. Juno nodded. Yes. A long silence. Juno finally asked, is she worth systemic risk? Min Jae's answer was immediate. This is not about worth. Then what is it? It is about the kind of leader I intend to be. Juno held his gaze. Then he nodded once. Then we prepare for impact. The public countermove. Instead of announcing an engagement, Min Jae did something unprecedented. He announced restructuring. Park Holdings would transition into a hybrid public benefit corporation. Greater transparency, community board oversight, environmental compliance mandates, medical investment protected from corporate interference. Shockwaves rippled across financial circles. It was radical. It was dangerous. It reduced centralized control, which meant it reduced Han's leverage. Chairman Han requested an emergency audience. Min Jae declined. Publicly, the breaking point. Han responded by freezing joint port access contracts. For 48 hours, global shipments stalled. This was no longer corporate chess. This was economic war. Juno stood beside Min Jae in the operations room. We can counter with legal injunctions. Too slow. We can escalate politically. Too messy. Silence. Then Amara spoke from the doorway. Or you can remove his narrative. Both men turned. Explain, Min Jae said. She stepped forward calmly. Han believes you are reckless, emotional, unstable. Juno's eyes narrowed slightly. She continued, so stop reacting like a rival. A pause. React like a statesman. The strategy, instead of attacking Han directly, Min Jae requested a televised policy forum. Live, transparent. Invite regulators. Invite environmental leaders. Invite healthcare administrators. And invite Chairman Han. Han couldn't refuse without appearing evasive. The forum aired nationwide. Min Jae spoke first. Not about power. Not about alliances. About accountability. He outlined the medical initiative. Industrial reform. Shared responsibility. Then he turned calmly to Chairman Han. You have expressed concern about instability. Min Jae said evenly. Do you believe public health investment destabilizes industry? Han force into open dialogue, could not openly oppose medical reform. Carefully, he repositioned. By the end of the forum, the narrative had shifted. Min Jae was no longer reckless. He was visionary. Markets responded. Stock rebounded. Han's leverage weakened. The quiet victory. 2 weeks later, port contracts resumed. No engagement announced. No merger pursued. Chairman Han sent a final message. You have chosen a difficult path. Min Jae replied, I have chosen a deliberate one. And that was the end of it, not with explosion, but with repositioning. Power recognized power. 3 months later, the Park Okafor Medical Initiative opened its largest clinic yet, Industrial District, previously underserved. Ribbon-cutting ceremony. Min Jae stood beside Amara. Not behind, not shielding. Beside. Cameras flashed. But this time, it wasn't scandal. It was transformation. A reporter asked, Do you believe love changed corporate policy? Min Jae glanced at Amara, then answered, No. A beat. Courage did. Amara smiled faintly. Later, in the backseat of the car, sunlight flooding through the windows, no privacy petition raised, no tension in the air. Juno sat in the front seat, reviewing reports. Dehayan drove, humming softly. Minji's hand rested on Amara's knee, not possessive, grounded. You ready for tonight? He asked. She arched a brow. The gala? He nodded. Theme. Renewal. She smiled slowly. I already chose my dress. His eyes warmed. Red. She shook her head. No. A pause. Gold. Final scene. That evening, they entered the ballroom again. Different energy. Different air. Whispers still existed, but they carried a different tone. Not ridicule. Not suspicion. Recognition. Min Jae offered his arm. She took it, not as armor this time, as partnership. Above them, crystal chandeliers shimmered. But this time, they were not entering as a king and a distraction. They were entering as architects of a new empire, one not built solely on control, but on choice.